Everybody, let's get started. Fuck it. Episode 133 of the Carrying the Culture Show. This is an important one. We got some history shit going on here. We got some lessons. Pay fucking attention. Get your notepads. Well, I still write on paper, black, whatever. Get your shit, write shit down. Listen, because this is very important. This brother has studied, has been around. He knows his shit. I don't trust a lot of people with information that just tell me shit. I like you're one of the few people where like if you say it, I'm like, I bet it's a good percentage that it's true. And even if and your intention, I just want to say this, brother, your intentions are good as far as like sharing this information because it's very, very important. I always say I don't get into the dates and things and some of the nuances of the details of the history, but it's important that some people do. And I get into some other things. So I respect you. I respect what you have to offer, what you have to share, and what you've experienced in this hip hop shit. So much appreciation for you, Pluto 7, the Bronx Boys. We're getting on Bronx in the building. We're about to get it in a minute. So thank you very much, man, for joining us.
Wow, that's a great intro. I have to say thank you very much. It's mutual. I don't follow too many people intensely on their Facebook pages, but you are one of those people that I do because I know you know your shit. So it's a mutual thing.
Appreciate you.
So
Salute.
we identify with a lot of shit.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And we met on a panel. We met on a panel discussion together, and with Profo and Dr. Derek Colon, I believe someone else, and well, my man, Save the Hip Hop Culture Sec, and yeah, like, so I just wanted to. For me, it's important because there's a lot of stuff going around now, right? People just chattering about a lot of different things and
a lot.
Shit that I thought was like kind of solidified is all of us. It's like, wait, that's, I'm hearing different shit here and there. So we're going to get into some questions about some, a lot of this stuff. But first, for people that don't know and understand or don't know a little bit about you, let's go back. You're from the Bronx, right? So let's just, I want to get in a little history as far as about you're concerned, like you getting started in, just your Bronx experience in hip hop. Tell me, because I don't know, I don't know you that well.
Okay, here's the thing. A lot of people think that I'm from the Bronx. I'm actually not from the Bronx. I'm from Jersey.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I got my start out. Just seeing small things on TV. In the early '80s, whatever, whatnot. And then I saw this clip. I think it was the New York City Breakers on Channel 7 News, and I've been fortunate enough to be at the right place at the right time on a lot of things that I've seen. I don't know what it is, just been fortunate. That's the best way to describe it. But when I saw Breaking, I just was glued to it, and I just remembered, the small things that were done in the clip, and I kept drilling and I kept drilling this, and this would happen to be like in the mid '82, the summer of '82. So I just drilled it, like I drilled it in my mind, and I practiced for about almost a year. And then, after that time, I came out and I considered myself a B-boy.
Where did you first see it?
Again, I saw it on the news.
On the
I saw it on the news. This is at a time where, things were coming back up, like in '82. A lot of people, were getting back into it. A lot of people were coming, back from the quote unquote hiatus and breaking. And then even that, there's a lot of misconception because a lot of people think that, B-boying died down and it stopped completely. There were people that were still continuing to do it.
Right. So then take us to the Bronx Boys. In terms of you, how'd you get affiliated and how did all that happen then?
I was offered, I was offered in 2009. To get down, and I knew the history of the crew, so I was I first didn't accept it because I didn't know if I had those levels. So it was, and they the president, Abby, he kept asking me, and a few other people, were asking me to get down or whatnot. And they would tell me about the criteria, what they're about and what constitutes that, because this is a 70s crew and they were coming back. So they were reigniting this crew in the whole nine. So I would say in the new year, about around like March or February, I did a lot of thinking about it, and I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take a stab at this. I realized that, I'm built for this. So then I joined.
So the funny thing is, like, you just like destroyed all my notes, because I deliberately tried not to like do a lot of like Googling you or anything like that, because I just wanted to just talk to you. So like,
Yes.
But again, based on our limited interactions, I assumed you were from the Bronx, and then based on that, I assumed that you were older than me. I was like, this brother looks really young to be this much older than me. But so it's close, because it's fun. We're closer in age than I thought. So it's just interesting. But I think that's dope. Did you do any like, have you not practiced? Have you been involved in any other elements at all, like as far as
I did bombing, for a little bit. I bombed for a hot minute, but it didn't work out too well. A few legal fees and the whole nine. So you know how that goes. So I chilled with that. I in the 90s, I DJ, I DJ'd, but I did like house parties. I wasn't like in the clubs and none of that stuff or whatnot, because when I bought records, I bought for myself. And I liked what I liked. And, I didn't want to have to buy any like puffy records or anything. But this is, I did these parties way before that. This is like early 90s. But my whole thing was just like, when it came to the notion that, you might have to buy records for other people, and, that just wasn't me. So, it was just something, if my boys threw a party, or if we threw a party, I did that or whatnot. But, I had the records and all that. But the one thing I did jump off from that and took serious for a while was I started making beats. So I was into, making beats, in like 95, I got an SP. Was working with that for a while, and then 2004 I picked up MPC 4000, and then I just, that was it. At that time, between that and breaking, that's what I was doing a lot. And then I'm not gonna lie, I dabbled at MCing in the whole nine, and it was just strictly like house parties, battles off the top of the head or whatnot. But I never wanted to like make records or make nothing like that. I'd rather make beats, because I had all these sounds in my head.
Right. It's so dope though, because like when I talk to people that are like, we're close in age within a few years, it's like we come from the time where everybody just did shit, right? We just did whatever. Like everybody had a hand style, even if you weren't a writer, you had a hand style. Everybody was spitting for it. Like you figured it out, and then you kind of found your groove. And for me, I came into it as a B-boy too, and then I stuck with that. I stuck with the dance, and because it came naturally for me. Other stuff was, I was like, this is kind of where my calling was. But like, it's funny how, we just did it, man. It wasn't like, we want to go out and hip hop today with my friends, right? Like, so
it just came natural to us, because that was the natural thing to do, or whatnot. And we weren't, we had video games and all that stuff, coming up, but like, that was more of a focus, whatnot.
Right.
I was more in, to going to clubs and in even other forms of dance, even, in the early 90s, when, breaking was, kind of, slowing down for a minute before it picked back up. I was doing all those other things. But, in all aspects of like the culture, I dabbled into all of them. But what currently is what I'm known for, is, being a researcher for breaking, history, whatnot. And I felt, I went to that because I felt it's the one that I knew that least amount of people knew. It's the least documented, and as I was doing research for it, it was really hard to find a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, was just scattered all over the place or whatever, whatnot. Now, I can articulate all 4 elements at the same level, but breaking, you know, I felt breaking really needed it the most.
Right. Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, all across the board, a lot of stuff wasn't really like documented well, you know, or anything like that. So, so let's jump into it, man. Got a bunch of questions for you. Let's just start it off. So, you know, with this hip hop 50 stuff going on, you know, talking about 1973 and whatnot, like just in your, you know, from what you understand, when and where did hip hop, or how did this kind of start? I mean, like, was like, because I'm here, you know, people are saying this documentary, check this out, and check this out, and check this out. So, you know, what is it?
You know what? I'm gonna be brutally honest. Most journalists, most historians in hip hop culture suck. They don't do work. It's called lazy work. You know, there's so many books, like the books that came out in the 90s, you know, all these books, you know, about hip hop culture and all this stuff. They really didn't, you know, we really did not do well as far as education in hip hop culture. So as far as like 73 and the bogus ass number of the 50th anniversary, and I've gotten into this with a lot of people, but here's my question. So break it down. So what we know is hip hop are 4 elements, right? So
Correct.
you know, layman's term, 4 elements.
Yeah.
So now, so then we go to Kool Herc's Jam on in August 11th or 12th, whatever date that was in 73. You have a situation where, like, what we consider the criteria of hip hop, what was going on in that event. Has anybody ever heard any stories of breaking, any battles, of B-Boy battles? None. Is there any stories of any MCs performing, not even battling? None. Were there writers? None. Now we get into DJing. People say, well, who hurts the DJ? Yes, but the criteria of what we consider the hip hop DJ was not even born then. Because the merry-go-round, everybody has this misconception of the merry-go-round. We've gotten a misconception of the merry-go-round. The merry-go-round, you know, there's a documentary that's like a German documentary, you know, that people, you know, refer to. If you go on YouTube and say the merry-go-round, you will see Herc talking about the merry-go-round, where he takes bongo rock and either Give It Up, Turn It Loose, or Apache. That's not what definitively is a hip-hop DJ. Anybody can do that. Anybody can take 2 of the same, you know, 2 of the different records and put them and you know, and blend them or mix them or whatever you want to call it. But the original Clark Kent, who was a B-boy, thought in the back of his mind, from, you know, thinking about, you know, dancing and all that stuff, he said, you know what, I'm gonna get a double of Apache. So he got a copy of Apache and he gave it to Kool Herc for his birthday. So that is when the doubles went on. That's arguably between 75 and 76. So 73 kills all of that or whatever, whatnot. What we know is hip hop, where, you know, at least 3 of the elements that came cohesively practiced at one particular time, like probably in block parties in the summertime, would be 77. Sha Rock and a bunch of other people confirm that and say that it's 77. So all the people out here, you know, who are, you know, hashtagging or saying 50th anniversary or whatever, whatnot, like, either one, you ain't doing your research, and number 3, you just following behind everybody without even putting in, you know, any effort of like knowing what it really is.
So what about like the fact that people have shared that like these elements were clear, but were still going on even before 73, as far as, I mean, particularly Graph. I mean, I always consider that kind of like an outlier in some ways, but like that's, you know, that's as far as B-Boy. And so what's your take on that?
Well,
writing,
you would, I would say, would be roughly around 68.
Yes,
and that had its own thing, and it had its own history. So like, you had, you had dudes that that were listening to like Zeppelin or Sabbath and all that, and then you had some people were listening to soul and funk. So hip hop didn't really come from that. So it predates that.
Correct.
And then so then there's the argument is graph hip hop. I say it all depends on when you got into the culture. That's the best way to describe it. So if you got into the culture, anywhere between like say 75, and later, you probably would say yes, it's a part of the culture. If you got into if you got into writing before all of that and you didn't see hip hop, then you might say no. Seeing doesn't recognize it as hip hop. But the ironic thing is, the ironic thing about Seeing is a lot of the events that he gets known for, or what he goes to, or what bring him in, are all hip hop based events. So it's like, okay, dude.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Eating off the backs, but you don't. I mean, a lot of cats don't fuck with it. That's why I always say it. I always put after sometimes next to graph, just because of it's illegal. I mean, so many different factors with graph. Like it's like it's dope. But yeah, there's a lot of writers that I know that don't fuck that, and their style is so New York crazy. It's like you don't even fuck with hip hop. It's wild.
Yeah, it's funny. I think it's funny. But to me, I see both points. I respect both points. But if I had to choose one, I would say it's hip hop.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it depends on your perspective. For me,
because I didn't get into culture. I didn't get into this culture and saw writing before hip hop. I wasn't even born at that time. But as far as like b-boying, and when people say that, okay, there's two narratives within b-boy. You have like the burning style, which and that's the quote unquote black style, which introduced the early forms of breaking, which the burning style is I would say like 73 to like 75.
75.
And then from 75 on, you have two things going on. You have the black perspective, and then you have the Puerto Rican perspective of the dance. Now, the black perspective has a different look than the Puerto Rican perspective. The one thing about the Puerto Rican perspective, it was very influenced by rocking, like rocking on top rock and up rocking and all of that stuff, and the gang influence. Now the black style has gang influence, but from the Spades and guys like that. And so that style of dance is like sporadic. So there are guys who still have that style of dance. There's even some guys that are in their like mid 30s to 40s who on occasion exemplify that style of the Zulu King style, whatnot. But that those eras started in 75 on.
All right, so let's go to Bronx. I'm here in Brooklyn. I'm here in Queens, and we talked about you. I brought this up in the panel discussion we were on, and it was like a bunch of us, and you were like, "Oh, that's been debunked." So holler at me on that, man. So like there's documentaries out, sharing that this was going on, and either simultaneously or before the Bronx in Brooklyn and Queens. What's your take on that?
Okay. Are you referring to what is that?
The Founding
that
Fathers.
one documentary that was narrated by Chuck D.
No,
Founding Fathers. Yeah. Okay.
Story. Hip-hop, yeah.
Charlie Rock debunked that really well. I'll just say this: there has always been block parties. There's always been a situation where people play music out in a park, but that doesn't make it hip hop. So what was going on in Queens and Brooklyn was not hip hop in that particular time. They do not predate hip hop, because in that documentary you do not see one b-boy. There's not one b-boy on there. There's not one dude that says, I was b-boying. That's what makes hip hop hip hop. B-boys. Before MCs, before any of that stuff, before the narration that we know as DJing, what makes hip hop culture are the b-boys beyond any aspect, because Herc catered to the b-boys. These guys, because Charlie went to those jams. He went to those jams when he was breaking and all that stuff, and they weren't feeling that. They were also an older crowd. So what they were playing was more disco. They weren't playing the progressive, harder stuff like James Brown or any of the Baby Huey stuff or whatnot, which was a harder bass, and even rock stuff. So that stuff was a lot harder, a lot heavier. They weren't doing that. They were doing all the fancy, put on your shoes, dress up. They weren't doing it in the parks really like that. They were more in the clubs. But one thing is prevalent: they had no b-boys, and that's what makes hip hop culture at that time. And what's definitively hip hop culture are b-boys, which Herc, catered to and started to play for, and later transitioned to what we know now.
That's a good point. So I might send you this. I don't know if you've seen you've seen that, not the movie, but not the doc, but there's some interesting points. I'm on this page that discusses that, and they were saying like how people. This is the Bronx. I mean, this is the Brooklyn Queens perspective. He's saying how let's see if I can find some of it. Where he's saying the disco stuff. They were saying just kind of saying, well, what's Grandmaster Flash's right hand man's name? Disco B. They were saying that their point was that the Bronx, that everything, not everything, but that disco was prevalent every even out there and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was, but it wasn't like the guiding factor. Herc and some of those other dudes, they played a variety of music or whatever. They played some of that because some of that stuff was prevalent or whatnot. Hip hop is what pretty much sank disco. There were aspects of disco on there. Guys in Harlem were playing stuff, early on or whatnot.
Right,
but the prevalent thing is the b-boys. Ask them if they had any b-boys. Ask them were they playing any of that stuff, back then. When you listen to any of the music from then, or the video footage and all that stuff, because in that movie they show footage, you don't see nobody in sneakers. They were a younger crowd. You didn't break in shoes. You got down in some Pro-Keds or Chuck Taylors or some Duntonunts, whatever you had on, or whatnot. That's what you danced to, or whatnot. They were a younger crowd.
Yeah. So the very important point though of all of it is the absence of b-boys. So like that right there makes the difference. So like you know what I'm saying?
Because b-boying culture translates into so many things. The fact that you want to put on a dope outfit and look fly, the way you wear your hat, the fact you're a sneakerhead, all the sneakerheads comes from New York street ball and breaking. Those are the two dominant things that created the outlook of how people look at sneakers, especially back then or whatnot.
Of course. I mean, yeah. I mean, the b-boy, like that is the foundation of the culture. I always say like b-boy taught me how to tie my sneakers, how to lace my sneakers, how to pose for a picture, how to like stand, how to wear
the poses.
Taught me how to wear my hat. You know what I mean? Taught me that. So that's the part that makes it hip hop. You know what I mean? I see what you're saying. So yeah, and I didn't.
Even if you're a low life, the basic premise of that is like from b-boy culture, just to look dipped out. You know what I mean? Don't throw in a dope outfit.
Of course. I mean, like I know dope b-boys that are low life. So I mean, of course. I mean, of course. Yeah. So it's the fashion, the shit like you take the sneakers. I mean, remember like you sit there and lace them shits forever, like until they're like perfect. You know what I mean? So, all right, cool. Big one I want to get into, man, because it's unfortunately for me kind of disturbing just based on just kind of how I grew up. Is this whole Latino contribution, not participate. I don't even really understand what the essence of the beef is or essence of the conversation is. I think people are just talking by each other by now. But for me, it's just weird because from what I've always seen, 82 on, and growing up, maybe it's where I grew up. I grew up in Connecticut, so maybe tri-state area. It was. I mean, I saw.
We have to articulate it.
You know what I'm trying to say here, man. I can't even find the word. So I saw it all, and so now to hear that it's like this super crazy divisive thing, I'm a little disturbed. So what's good?
You're trying to wrap your brain around it. Like
I
that's
can't.
when
How
I
I grew up.
people ask me to explain it, I'm explaining it just like the way you explain it.
Okay.
I'm trying to wrap my brain around the idea of something that I've seen all my life is part of my influence, and for people who weren't around, who are not around here, aren't even 2,000 miles within this area, say it doesn't exist. A dude, I went on live on Instagram, like almost like 9 months ago with a dude, because he said, like you don't acknowledge black b-boys, and I thought that was funny, and I was like, and I tell him like, well, you obviously don't do the research on me, So when I was doing a lot of the lives on YouTube, he's like, all you do is you say this about the Puerto Rican b-boys, you big this up and all this or whatever whatnot, and I'm like, you do realize I'm asked specific questions, I'm giving specific answers. Do you know what a researcher does? Someone who does research on the culture answers specifically. That's called being knowledge. That's called knowing what the fuck you're talking about. You obviously don't know that, but you're speaking. You have no like intellectual value to grasp a specific question asked pertaining to a question, and I'm answering the question. So if they ask another question that's opposite of that, I'm going to answer that question. But this comes from being knowledge and educated on this stuff. So a lot of people get this misinterpreted because they see all this. But I will say this, historically, there has been certain things that flip-flop. Like at one point in time, breaking, was a narrative, people only talked about a black perspective. And then another narrative, breaking only, the Puerto Rican narrative. I will say this, the fault of that are the people who came before us, because they didn't do, like I said, they didn't do research. When you don't do proper research and you do a document, because you see all these documentaries like, oh, let's do a documentary about hip hop culture. Zulu Kings, Zulu Nation, Rocksteady Crew, New York City Breakers, and Melly Mel Grandmaster Flash. That's all of them. That is
much.
all of them. It's lazy like research. These dudes do the same thing that everybody else does. So when I do research, the things that people, everything that everybody does, I go the opposite way. I research the hardest things to dig up. It's not a challenge to do what everybody's doing. There's no point in me doing any of this stuff. I tell people all the time, if everybody before me was doing their job, I would not exist.
True. Makes sense.
So we have a misrepresentation of what we think history is and wrong documentation. Zulu Nation, the 50th anniversary, neither one of them are 73. Rocksteady Crew is not 77. There's so many things up in this culture that we historically look at hashtag, and we are not being, properly educated on this stuff. And all this stuff can be proven. I tell people all the time, I'll challenge anybody. I'll challenge KRS-One. I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are in this culture. I will challenge anybody. I've been doing debates since 1983 because I've been doing this research since 1983.
So, based on that research, were Latinos a part of this in the beginning?
Absolutely. Maybe. You know what? Actually, yes. There may not have been a lot, but there were. Like Angelo Rodriguez, he is part of the Shaka Zulus, a chapter within Zulu, a B-Boy chapter within Zulu that challenged the Zulu Kings, started by Wade Lewis. So there was a lot of Puerto Rican, B-Boys in that at that time. There were a lot of, there were a few Puerto Rican MCs. What's homeboys? Booski. He was a B-boy, and then later on he became an MC. And for a short period, he was in Soul Sonic Force. He's a dude, like if you ask around cats from the Bronx, they know exactly who he is. He was a B-boy, then became an MC. He was Puerto Rican. What's his name? Who was part Spanish and something else. Graph writer. It's coming to me. T Kid, terrible T Kid.
Yeah, yep.
He was a B-boy. A lot of people don't know that. He ran with the Shaka Zulus. He was like something European in Spanish or something like that, or whatever, whatnot. But he ran with the Shaka Zulus as a B-boy. There's photos of him B-boying with Rocksteady in like 81, 82 at that Commonplace event.
So then what's the okay? I'm trying to just be as ignorant about this as possible. What's the debate then? Because all my life, up until really the last year, all my life and all I ever
it's crazy.
Was one way.
Yep.
And now, cats was like, yeah, like
here's what caused it. Here's one of the reasons. You have these guys named the FBA, Foundational Black, or whatever. Yeah, those dudes. They're making these claims that hip hop started in the South because James Brown came from the South. This person came from the South, and all these musicians came from the South. So that's what they justify. So like that in itself, there's so many ways to flip that to show that it's ignorant, but to play if they're listening to to play on their narrative. Pygmy, the guy who a lot of people revere as the first rapper in rap music, he died in the Bronx. Okay, fellas, he moved to the Bronx. He's from North Carolina, and he moved to the Bronx.
North Carolinas, yeah.
So so like it really, it's here nor there. It's a lot of people that are ignorant. Half these dudes, they're not even within 2,000 miles of New York City or the tri-state area. So my thing was
nothing to do with the whole shit at all until last year.
They know none of it. They know nothing, And then the funny thing, the dude who I went live on early today, he commented on something that I said in one of those YouTube debates, which was like 6 months ago. He said, Pluto, you still want to be Puerto Rican? And I'm like, dude, you weren't even on this. This wasn't even a question that responded to you. And bro, this was 6 months ago. You're fucking late. Is this what you do? Is this the best show? Is this the best y'all do? And I tell those dudes all the time. I tell them, let's do a live debate. I will smoke you. Get 20 to 30 people. I will smoke you. I will smoke you and your whole squad by myself. Me and my notes will smoke you. So it's simple as this. They say, well, hip hop started over here. So I'm like, okay. And a lot of people are like, oh, these guys are crazy. And I tell people, don't sweat that. Here's a simple answer to them. Tell them to go live, get a young kid while they're teaching him how to break. If they're teaching the kid, tell him the name of the move, where the move came from, who invented the move, what crew that person was from, what music they danced through, what block they did it, where they battled, who they battled against. All of that. I'll wait. Not one person can answer that question.
Right.
Well, over here, and while I tri-state, we have a wealth of information. But yet, hip-hop started in down south, man. Those dudes are clowns, man. I had to just stop answering them, man, because I had to go. I was like, you know what? This is all fun, guys, but I'm gonna go back and do research.
Yeah, it's wild, man. And like when you address truth, it's like people want to be like, oh, you want to be Puerto Rican? No, I like the real shit. I like speaking on facts. Sorry, you know what I mean? It's really crazy, man, and it's very divisive and it sucks right now, man. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of, I'm seeing posts from people. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, that this shit is not. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The thing is, this is what I say. When people say everything about the whole Black and Puerto Rican thing, or when they say the 50th anniversary, or when they say Rocksteady, or when I say Rocksteady or Zulu is not 73 or 77. My thing is prove it, because I have an answer and I will respond 30 seconds or less with my information that's been documented, that's been shown, that's people back these things up who were there. Like I have a list of receipts. So it's like, if you say, you know, a lot of people negate stuff because they have what I call Beat Street syndrome. And people who suffer from Beat Street syndrome have a hard time letting go what they've been programmed to believe, that, you know, there's a Santa Claus in hip hop culture, and they constantly believe all the stuff that they've been taught, but they don't do any research, you know, to like see it for themselves, or they won't listen to any research to see it for themselves.
For them, hip hop started with the Roxy battle in B Street. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man. Like
nothing else before Roxy. That was it. Like yo,
it's crazy, man.
All right. So thank you for just confirming what I mean. I almost started feeling like I was going crazy here. Right? You feel like
you're right. You're right.
You feel like you're like, wait, am I getting the facts wrong? Because all right, thank you.
You know what? Just by what you post, you know what? I can see it just by what you post, the way you dress, the things you say, because a lot of the stuff you say, I have the same attitude. That's why I love your show. I have those perspectives, man. You know, oh man. If my girl saw you, she would be like, "Oh my God, this is your fucking twin." But yeah, man. It's like, nah, man. You know what? It's not that we're too thorough in this culture to be putting up with this bullshit of dudes trying to tell us what it is. They didn't even hear and never experienced it. Right. They've never been to a jam. They've never been to a club. You know, they don't know what it's like to listen to Stretch and Bob. They don't know. They don't know any of this. They don't remember what it was like to wear, you know, to get, you know, cats getting stuck up for sneakers, jackets, hats. They don't understand. They don't know none of this stuff. You know, you was over in the backwoods, man, like fishing for salamanders. And no disrespect, you know what I'm saying? No disrespect or whatever, whatnot. But you know, for people to say what they're saying and say that it doesn't hold up, I'm like, yo, like, are y'all like? It's like you want to talk, but you're not listening to a like. You ask a question that, you know, when you get the answer, you get scared. So you got to do like childish tactics, act childish, and respond in a manner or whatnot, because you're getting bombarded with facts. But at the end of the day, like, yo, you know, nobody within this culture of really, who's really in this culture, is really going to look at you and say, you know what, that dude makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Yo, salute to everybody joining in. We got 20 minutes left with a man, so 7, who's breaking it down for us, and I'm really appreciative of you spending some time with us. So, B-Boy in the Olympics. When we talked briefly, you said you were like, you said you were a part breaking in the Olympics. You said you were a part of that. Like, what's and I was supporting the Breaking for Gold. It's like an organization that's helping to give the opportunity to the Olympic hopefuls in the United States, because there's like Breaking for Gold. There's Breaking for Gold USA. There's Breaking for Gold in other countries and all that. And then, you know, there's a bigger company that's over that. And this is, you know, to push people into the narrative of going, you know, to the Olympics. Now, a lot of people, you know, you do have some people in break culture who do not like it. Straight up don't like it, and then there's some people who don't like it because some of the politics or some of the people who are involved, and based on the way, you know, they're doing things. Myself, I'm a fan of b-boying culture. I'm a fan of pushing and bringing awareness to breaking. So this is just one of the things that, you know, I've supported in the past. I support a lot of narratives and breaking, whatever. Even if I don't totally agree with it, I can put certain things to the side and see, like, is this better? Is this better for the culture or not? And some people feel indifferent about that, and that's cool. So it's funny, us being similar in some ways. Like I my initial thought on it is I don't like it, because I think it's good for pushing the culture, but then I feel like a lot of things, based on some of the battles and stuff that I've seen, like I feel like that I feel like the wrong powers are gonna fuck it up, basically. And so that's I was surprised to hear that you were like supportive of it. I mean, of it, based on the political maneuvering that's
Yeah.
been going with that.
Here's the thing. If the right people don't get behind it, it can get control. There are people who are of the culture, a lot of people of the culture who are involved with it, breaking for gold. The two head dudes, man, Taekwon and Cracker Zach, they're they're B-boys.
B-boys.
Taekwon is the president, the world, the president of the entire, mighty Zulu Kings globally, and Zach, I remember seeing Zach back in the early 2000s, battling at events and all of that stuff in the whole nine. So these two dudes are very intelligent dudes, and the way they go about whatever, and they hear, they hear all of the different angles, whatever. There's people that are in their crew or former members in the crew that can't stand it. So like you got people within crews who don't really, like that's how torn apart people are, whatever, whatnot. But again, if we don't get involved, or if some people don't get involved, we can't complain when it looks a different way, whatever, whatnot. And here's the thing: it only comes every 4 years. It is not definitive what breaking is. It does not define breaking. It's a piece. There's so many pieces to breaking. It's not going to make or break breaking.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So what's up with the battle scene and breaking? So I told you before. So I transitioned. I started doing a more freestyle, I guess, pop top steez or whatever. My style and everything like that. So my first actual organized battle was in 2015. It was like an all styles thing or whatever.
Oh, word.
And I just did it. I was like, fuck it, let me do it. Let me fuck with these young kids, man. You know what I'm saying? See what's good.
Word.
And so held my own or whatever. But like I've noticed, and I still try to keep up with the breaking scene and stuff, but I got two complaints. Everybody's a fucking helicopter flying around. Nobody up rocks and top rocks. People can't dance. I just do flying the windows. It's just going all around, and people loving it. And I'm seeing people lose battles that clearly they didn't lose because their man was whatever. And I despise that. And I'm also from the era where
you know what?
It was over. It was because you said you was not better than me or something. It was in the lunchroom. It was at the bust that nigga ass. It wasn't like
that. You know what?
Break it down for me.
It's unfortunate you have some of that. Some judging is not honest judging. Not to say there aren't any honest judges or whatever, whatnot, because I've judged in the past, and I remember one time I judged the battle, and some of my boys were entered the competition, and I've always said I don't care who you are, even if you're a crew, I'm gonna judge you like anybody else. And I didn't choose my boy. For this. I don't believe in like siding with somebody because whatever. But that happens a lot. And that's why they're trying to work on judging systems or whatever, whatnot. It's something, in breaking, they gotta work, they gotta get it right, they gotta work on it, because how many times have you seen a competition, you're like, yo, that dude won or whatever, whatnot. But here's the other thing, what a lot of people don't understand is like certain competitions, that what they don't tell you when you watch the video, certain competitions have certain criteria that they want the judges to see, and then the judges have their own personal criteria. So half of it is one point that they say in breaking is like, don't enter a competition if you don't want to be judged. You're asking to be judged when you enter a competition, so you have to know, like, so it's one of those things like in certain sports where they do judging. If you study the judge, then you know what to look for. So when you go, you know what to bring out if that judge is partial to this type of style, and you can talk to the judges. So there's variables with it, that are specific that a lot of people, they don't show in competitions, and a lot of b-boys don't know. So it all depends, man.
Right. No, it makes
it's sense. It's a tough thing. It's a tough thing.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, but that, I mean,
But if you
I mean,
smoke somebody, but you know, I mean, you're a B-boy. If you really smoke somebody and they don't give it to you, we all know, you know, everybody's gonna talk about that. You know, a lot of times, you know, in the past, judges have gotten called out. I remember one time,
yeah,
you know, I got called out. You know, me and two other guys, you know, they didn't like the way we judged. They called us out or whatever. You know, so they were like, "Who the judges?" And, you know, like, you know, we stood up. We like us, and they were like, "Yo, you know, they called us out." So we battled, and we battled until, you know, the end of the, you know, the end of the event, and then we went outside and we battled, you know, outside on the concrete. That's just what it this it's just
yeah,
breaking, man. That's
yeah.
the beauty of breaking. You know, it has its positive and it has its negatives, but you know, the thing, and this is what gets, you know, this is the whole thing about, you know, the Olympics. You know, you're not going to get rid of that rawness. There will always be a jam. I've seen where, you know, there's a crew. I remember the what was it, like 2006 or 2007. There's a crew at the time, you know, a Korean crew called Gamblers. They were like one of the top crews. You know, the dudes that fly in the air for a half hour and don't come down. They were in New York City and they showed up. And I was like, you know, we happened to stumble across this shit. It was a battle in Chinatown. We're like, oh shit, yo, there's a battle. You know, there's a battle. And then we walked up to the block, and then we seen Gamblers, and we're like, oh shit, yo, Gamblers is in here. What are they? You know, what are they doing? We never seen them, you know, in the U.S., let alone, you know, New York City. So go upstairs to the battle. New York was giving them the business, but they were giving, Korea was giving them the business. You know, B-boys don't care your rep. They don't care who you're from. Well, you know, when you see dudes who are going to win the Olympics, they're going to be a target on their head. You know, common regular B-boys are like, yo, we don't give a fuck about your gold medal. What's good? That's just the attitude. That's just the rawness. So if that attitude is that's there, the Olympics is never going to overshadow breaking.
Yeah. That's a
It'll
good
be an
point, man.
aspect.
That you made about, you know, 4 years is not some, you know, so, you know, constant thing. I just, yeah, because that's the one thing I don't want to get diluted, you know,
No,
because it's
won't. It won't.
all
It
right.
won't. There's too many B-boys, like too many young cats coming up, you know, leveling up. There's too much, you know, competition. There's too many people talking shit. You know, there was an event, you know, where two 90s OG B-boys had battled, you know, like a few weeks ago out in Texas. And, you know, like 2 days ago, you know, after the battle, they're still talking smack. And the one dude is calling out, like he's got a list of people who he's calling out that he wants to go at, you know, and that's you're gonna never you're gonna never that shit's never gonna stop.
dope.
Never
That's
gonna
that's
stop.
good. That's good to hear, man. No, I like you talked me off the ledge, so I appreciate that. I mean, you know, I'm a therapist and shit, and be like, yo, I don't know, man. So, one last question before we get on out of here. Unfortunately, I got another show after this. Well, not unfortunately, but we unfortunately got to stop. Um, why do you do what you do? Because, I don't know. Does it get a little? It can be a pain in the ass sometimes. I mean, so why?
Yeah,
What
yeah.
gives you a sense of purpose to, or what makes you continue to do what you do?
I mean, at the risk of sounding cliche, I I love this culture, man. I think it's important that we galvanize all the information, proper, accurate information, and archive it and put it somewhere, like in a museum or something like that. Because I don't want to see some dude named Marshall, you know, Coca-Cola saying some dude named Marshall invented breaking. It's
Yeah,
very important that I wanted to do the other elements, like at the intensity that I do breaking the information. I wanted to do all the other elements, but then people are like, well, you got to do the 80s and then you got to do the 90s, and then okay, then and then there's DJing, then there's writing, and then there's MCing or whatever. And my whole thing is I would present all the stuff that's the lesser known stuff, but it's just a lot, bro. It's a
yeah,
lot. I did, I did all this shit. People, I went public with this 11 years ago, and I did all like the research that I've currently presented throughout the world. I did it all on a $250 cell phone. So if I had a real budget, dudes like the museum, I would smoke those clowns.
yeah.
But then again, I could smoke them now. So if they want to step up, I'll smoke their whole entire fucking staff. Their whole staff. I don't care who you. I don't care what your name. I don't care if you're KRS-One. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're all these dudes who are historians. Because I don't call myself a historian because most of these historians are clowns. Not all of them, but most of them. But this is an open invitation to get your ass smoked. And I go on every platform to tell them. That's how thorough I am, and I can back up everything that I say. I've been doing it a whole bunch of times.
On that note, you got an open invitation to get your ass smoked by Pluto 7. Man.
Something I have to ask you. I have to ask you real quick. What did you think about, the LP and LP Justin, all them, taking that picture?
Oh, I don't know. I skipped over it. I mean, I kind of was just like, I'm not a big Run the Jewels guy. Like,
no, like Cold Flow.
Oh, but wasn't Mike in that too, right?
What's that?
Wasn't Mike in that picture too?
Yeah, it was all three of them and Killer Mike. So people are going around, company flows back, and I'm like, yo.
Oh.
Don't wild
they're
out
back together or something?
They're
saying they're back together?
Yeah, people thought that. I was at an art gallery this past weekend. Breeze and Boo were there, and a bunch of people, and we were talking about that. And I'm like, it's dope to see the picture, but as far as an album, I don't think so.
I don't think so. I mean, I think they couldn't be farther from making an album. I mean, making any project or anything together. And from what I understand from Mr. Len, I'm saying, big up to him. He told me, he goes, yo, Company Flow wasn't like a tight-knit crew. Like, he goes, we weren't like fucking family like that. We weren't like Hyro or whatever. Yeah. He said, we're cool. He said, so he goes, I don't think there'll ever be anything, like that, So I don't think,
people lost their minds, bro.
That's from our build with him. I think it goes, we weren't like, they weren't fam like that.
Yeah, people lost their minds over that.
People lose their minds over everything because they're simps. That's why. So
yeah.
Don't get me started, man. We got to get out of here. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, man. Like you helped me realize that I wasn't crazy about a few things, and that's always good. And cleared it up on some shit, man. You brought some really good points, man. So I think we'll have to do it again, though. You know what I'm saying? There's more stuff.
Yeah, definitely, man. I would love to do it again.
I'll have to do it. So where are you based, real quick? I mean, are you in?
I'm based out in Bloomfield, Jersey, which is like
I know what it is
from north.
I know what that is. Yeah. So I'll be out there. So I'll be out in Jersey sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So because
let me know.
It's always important to me after to like link up, shake hands. You know what I'm saying? Not like this is cool and it's great. So otherwise we never get to catch up. But like
absolutely, man. We definitely have to link up, and then we need you on another episode of the Dark Web. You guys,
I'm definitely rock. You know what I'm saying? Say less. So this has been episode 133. Pluto's 7, getting our minds right. We're gonna get this up on the YouTube and everything. We're gonna get it on the YouTube, and I'll tag you all that stuff. Thanks to everybody rocking in, yo. And so appreciate you, brother. Really do.
Same with you.
So let us to stay in touch and keep doing what you do, man. I appreciate this. My man Emski says, like he calls me, says I'm essential worker. You're an essential worker. Like, rolling up the sleeve, Rosie the Riveter shit. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, man. Like, for real.
I appreciate that.
So all right, family, be good. We go live. We're Save the Hip Hop Culture. We're talking DJ and the B-Boy. So he wants to grab. Sorry. Salute, y'all.
All right. Peace, everybody.